about Black anime characters, and we're also going to give out some phobia resources. I feel like we're in the tornado now or something. What's happening? Um, yeah. So quickly, um, we're gonna go around. You can see everybody's name this time, which is great. But yeah, 10 seconds. Let's start with Mega.
Peace. I'm Robinson Mega. This is not information. I do a podcast too, and I write with Polly. Moto Nice, Mega Late Show.
All right, Bernie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bernadette, aka Bernie. I am a recent college grad, but I'm doing this podcast because I love it. So this is not information. Welcome, welcome. I'm doing another podcast called Sweet Talks, where we have similar conversations, but looking at South Korean culture and Japanese culture, but particularly looking at the music industry. And welcome.
Kristen.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Kristen from DC/the DMV. I don't know if I spelled that right, but who cares? I was living in Osaka a year ago, and I'm back in the United States. Quick note, I also am about to release my own webcomic next month. So if you like anime or manga and Black culture, follow me.
And Mr. Shelton.
This is Maurice Shelton. This is not information. All right, I'm Maurice Shelton, educator / person based out of Kawasaki in the Kanagawa area, Kanto, by way of College Park, GA, Atlanta, ATL. So I'm here to learn, here to rant. I'm going to get off a couple of jokes too. So thank y'all for listening.
Cool. Yeah, my name is Paulie Brown. I'm in Honda from Cleveland, by way of the Bay Area. Or I think it's by way of the Bay Cleveland. I don't know how you do that. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about Black anime characters. So we had a lot of what we talk about is in the group chat, and then we bring it over to the live. But yeah, like I said, I have no idea. Like 2 years I started watching anime. I mean, I guess if you count some of the stuff, like I was looking at Black anime characters, like Black Samurai, stuff like that. And we had a good conversation about the Boondocks. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm curious as to one, what is your introduction to Black anime characters? And who would you say is an anime character that you think everybody should know? And then we can just kind of jump in. And we're going to try to do this conversation style. So just try to not let people talk too long. Anybody want to start?
Sure, I'll start. So I think people may know that I'm kind of older. I'm 37 years old. And when I was growing up, anime wasn't really a thing. We didn't have Toonami. We didn't even have Cartoon Network playing cartoons all day, all night. So I learned about anime through like homies, I guess. We kind of found some of the old tapes like Ninja Scroll, Vampire Hunter D. And then Suncoast started becoming popular, which was a video store in the mall. And we would just pick up anime tapes. So I got exposed to early anime, all the Ghibli films and Akira and all the really old dope shit that was coming straight from Japan before they were airing Dragon Ball really on television. And I liked it then, but I can't really say that I'm an anime fan in any real sense of the word now, considering how popular it is and how much I know about it. I haven't followed it closely. I'm a comic book head. And so, like, I know anime and I watch some here and there nowadays, but I'm hardly an anime fan. I wouldn't say that myself. Do you want me to, should I answer the character that I think people should know about, or should I just not do that?
Just jump in. It's up to y'all. Yeah. What y'all want to say?
I mean, I'm gonna start off real quick. Like, there wasn't a lot of Black anime characters when I was growing up, and I didn't really know them. So we had to make them up. We had to say that the dudes it was usually the cast that wasn't human, like aliens, they got to be Black. And so straight up and down, shout out to my guy Piccolo, because I swear Piccolo was Black.
I mean, I've seen it more than once. Anybody else want to talk about Piccolo? Because Piccolo, I've seen this. I just watched Supreme. He was like first person Piccolo. He black.
Piccolo is invited to the cookout all day, every day.
Yeah. Maurice, do you want to jump in there? What you gonna say?
Yeah, no. I think I'm on the opposite end of Mega. Like I grew up watching a bunch of cartoons, and my dad grew up in for a short time in Japan. So like I was exposed to a bunch of stuff. I knew about Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Like I felt like I was ahead of the curve. Like I was up on it before like a lot of other people. But like I put in the chat like I was watching like Thundercats, and this goes back to the discussion we had before. Like what is anime? So like I talk to Japanese people, they say, well, if the cartoons ain't anime, then what the hell is it? I'm like, well, like for me, like all cartoons are anime, but then we can get into the aesthetic of like if it was made by Japanese people or not, or if it has some type of Japanese art style. But like for me, like if you want to get super duper technical, like just animated characters, like yeah, I put in IQ from Bionic 6. I used to love Bionic 6, man. Panthero from Thundercats, the dude from Mask. I didn't really like the cop aesthetic, or G.I. Joe. Like there was a couple dudes from G.I. Joe that were black. Same thing too. Like anybody that didn't have like white skin, you know, like a lot of times we'd be like, yo, man, he black. That's my cousin right there, you know. So Piccolo, yeah, definitely is like he was black. Jet from Cowboy Bebop, like I imagine him to be like a light skinned dude. Maybe he's like Brazilian or something like that. And he, you know, he been out in outer space a while, so you just get him under the sun a little bit, and he'll be black, you know.
So,
nice
Thundercats is anime. That count?
Yeah. So, like, I mean, that's kind of a sidetrack. Like, yeah, what is anime? Because, like, again, like,
Pat, that's my dude. I love some Thundercats.
Yeah, Snake Eyes. Yeah, Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes was black all the way. Snake Eyes black, man.
Transzord Z, y'all remember that? Do y'all remember? That's before y'all. I'm
Say it again.
Transzord Z, Mazinger Z.
Oh, Mazinger Z. Yeah.
That's anime, right?
Yeah, that's anime. Yeah, that's one of the older ones. Yeah. So yeah, that was the other thing too. Any of like the Super Sentai, like I would imagine. Okay, like if you go even further, like when Black Power Ranger was out, I'm like, yo, we got a Black Power Ranger. Like they made my boy black, you know, like so. Zach from Power Rangers, like, yeah, it's kind of related, but it's like, yo, like I know, like intrinsically, like as a child, I knew I needed to see that. I need to see somebody like me, because I would look at Nickelodeon or like later on, like Cartoon Network. It's like nobody looks like me, so I'm like, yeah, come on, please, I need that representation.
So for y'all youngins, what was the first anime? Because y'all, I mean, I'm assuming y'all was steeped. I mean, Kristen, she was.
Yeah, y'all young, man.
Yo, time out.
North Star? Since a North Star.
Can I get a timeout real quick?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been talking to Kristen for maybe, I don't know, months now. How am I just finding out that you are creating anime and mangas and shit? Please, before you talk about any other shit, tell us what that is and what's going on with that.
Bro. I've been new. Okay.
You guys don't interact with me and Bernie on the same level, so of course you wouldn't know Mega. I'm so sorry. Not that we're not friends.
Ooh.
Like, not that we're not friends. But
not that
so.
We're not friends, though. Like, I love you, but no.
No way. But like, so my major is animation. So like I have a background in like art and stuff. So it's kind of natural for me to do like a freelance comic and see how it goes. Like I've always wanted to make like a black manga, like featuring like original black characters, because I find a lot of times nowadays, and it's not really so problematic because representation does matter, but what I find is that like companies like Marvel will recycle a character and just make them a different race. So it's like, yes, this person is black now, but his original like persona was that of a white man or a white woman. So I personally want to make like my own original manga or anime that actually has an original black character. Like that's their root story. They were black at first. So that's kind of where I want this comic to go. And I'll give you guys deets later on.
Yeah, I mean, I need to see. So do you have workout or what? Why you hiding the work? Have you had some other stuff out?
I'll send you guys a link of my portfolio.
Yeah, man. What's up? Can I get some? Can I pay you? Can I pay you? I need a little.
I mean,
You know
I'm
what I'm
just saying it will be
No,
dope
real talk.
if you
I got
design.
a story, man. I got a story. I want you to draw that shit, man.
Okay, hit me up. I got
I'm,
you.
I'm just saying it would be dope if you design the "this is not information"
I mean,
shit.
yeah. Why are we using the bootlegs? What's up? Can we get some animation?
Right? We got Getty images and clip art. You know what I mean?
I'm using Canva. Shout out to
Yes.
Canva, but you know, we got Chris Danva. You know what I'm saying? We got Chris Danva. You know, we can use that. And like, hey, Solify.
Sure, I can put something together.
Yes. Shield. Oh, I don't know. This ain't safe for kids. I put that on there. This ain't safe. All right. So who next?
Bernie.
Bernie.
Yo, so I was thinking like my first ever anime. My first ever anime was about samurai, so it didn't really include any black individuals. But the first anime where I saw possible depictions of black people was Bleach. So like if you think of characters like Yuriichi, who's like a cat kind of person, but she's a badass. There was also the people who were under Aizen, and then
What's Eisen? What's that?
he was like the main villain of the first part of Bleach. Like he was the one who he was like part of the captains, but he had his own like goal to like subvert soul society and be the biggest or the most powerful person or whatever. And so he had all these like he mimicked Soul Society by having his own council of people. I forgot. I love Bleach, but I forgot like all the like major important things about it. But some of the captains that he had under them were also like kind of like black characters. So I'm thinking like Tosin. He barely talked. He was like the one with the blind. He had like glasses over his eyes. And he had like dreads. And honestly, like Yuriichi was the only black woman. Well, for me, she was like the first black anime who was a woman that like I won't say looked like me because her hair was more straighter. It wasn't kinky, wasn't curly, but like she was the first like black person that was like, oh my gosh, anime. And there's somebody with like a darker skin complexion. The other one that I was thinking of was Kuroko no Basket. Have y'all ever heard of it? It's a basketball anime. Yeah, it's a basketball anime about like these, huh?
Like Slam Dunk?
Kind of, but in my opinion, better. I like it better. I'm sorry. No
Problem.
wars, no fight, no nothing. I'm 4'11", so don't come at me. But like,
Say that again.
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. But I love Critical No Basket, and so for the most of the series, it was like one character who was, I won't say black. I think he was like a darker skinned Japanese person. Like
Off color, he black. Off color, he black.
Like off color, like if I were to see him on the street, I'd be like, "You black." But like in anime, I'm like, I don't know if he's black, but he kind of black because he does like street basketball. He's dark skinned, things like that. So I was like, okay, maybe he black, but I'm like, no. And then they had an African character who was stupid. So I was like, interesting depiction of African American. Yeah, I think he was like a Senegal character who, because he was tall, the high school recruited him so that he can be part of the team to help win the championship, and he lost because
excuse me, Bernie. Okay, y'all could just jump in. The private chat is popping. Y'all got
it's going off. I see it.
Okay, no, I was just like trying to comment on what Bernie said, like how the black dude, like the black American dudes that they brought in to play against, like, like in the whole series, they compare like the different players' auras to like animals. So like the main character Kagami is like a tiger, and then like the Almine is like a panther. And then of course, like the black dude, like they compared him to like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah. Oh no, okay, so wait. So that was the movie. That was the last movie where the American team came to fight Japanese team. And they were like, oh, we're better than the Japanese team. And the Japanese team was like, no, teamwork will make the dream work. And majority of the American team was black, but there was only one actual strong, like, good player. But he was aggressive, he was abusive, he was mean, he was all over the place, and he was a T-Rex. And you could see because he was always roaring. He was like, "Oh, I will beat you. I'm bigger and better than you."
So basically, it was the Hoosiers. Have y'all seen the Hoosiers? The Hoosiers. I watched that when I was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
Generation that came out.
You know what that?
Came out before I was born, huh? Hoosiers. That was like what, 86?
Yeah, man. We had to watch it for 7th grade, but they had like the black team, and then like
black team, Texas Western, whatever. Yeah.
It was weird. So a Tyrannosaurus. That's wild. Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it a bean, man. I'm gonna keep it about like the name Kuro no Ko Basket.
Kuroko no Basket.
Kuroko no Basket.
Something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it threw me off because I'm like, what you talking about black? What you trying to say? We all play basketball. When I first saw it, I'm like,
black basket man or something?
Black child basketball. What you trying to say?
Hold on, I gotta look that up.
That's how they trying to brainwash you, young sister.
I'm dead. Which is funny because you had like no like black characters. The only like resemblance of blackness was Iomine, and even then you really couldn't tell if he was black or just a darker skinned Japanese boy.
Yeah. They have the same with Akagi too, because Iomine, yeah, it's like he's kind of racially ambiguous, so he could be like maybe he's Okinawan or something like that, or he's like maybe his mama Filipino or something like that. You know how they do sometimes. But Akagi, I put in the chat like Takanori in Slam Dunk. He's the creator said like he's supposed to be like Patrick Ewing. So this is like the 90s, so like he was straight up like he drew him with Patrick Ewing in mind with the flat top and everything. So when I first saw Slam Dunk, I'm like, yo, man, why he got that flat top, man? Because like I watched Slam Dunk probably about the first time like 15 years ago. Yeah, 15, almost 20 years ago. Man. And it was still fresh in my mind. Like the goal, I feel for me, like Jordan era basketball, like from like late 80s to like the mid 90s, like some of the best basketball ever, Do
all y'all know about Slam Dunk?
Mm-hmm. Know of it, never watched it.
A little bit.
I mean, I only got into it because I was bored, like when I was like just finding stuff to binge. So I would binge like Slam Dunk and like Hajime no Ippo. So they had a black character in Hajime no Ippo, and that was problematic because guess what? Like it was based in like the early 80s. So like the one black dude that he beats, I think his name is like Azuma. He don't know how to box, but he's super powerful, super strong. He just know how to hook, but he don't know how to counter a hook. It's like as a boxer, like someone that's fought, like been like hit before, and like they bring him the dumb American, Gunjin to like build up the main character. And it's like yeah,
I love it.
Well,
I ain't gonna say like black child basketball is better than Slam Dunk just because I know they probably bit off a lot of the style. That's how y'all young folks do.
Maurice, when they do there's like some like monkey gorilla references in Slam Dunk.
Yeah, that too. So it's like I mean for me like, and again I think we whenever the topic of like black anime characters come up or like black animation characters in general. I think the nitty gritty is when it all boils down is how complicated and how convoluted our relationship is with pop culture and its representations of us, and how trapped or how I'm trying to search for the right word because I don't want to say that we don't have agency when we choose. Like for example, if I say I love Dragon Ball Z, but then they have for one character. We focus on Piccolo, right? But we got Mr. Popo right on the same end, right? Like Mr. Popo is problematic as fuck. I'm sorry. But yeah, like it's Mr. Popo. But the first time I saw Mr. Popo, I'm like, what in the, what is this? Mr. Popo. And then the English dub of his voice is like, come on, like, are you serious? Like he sound like, like it goes back to like the Tarzan things where he's like he's the caricature.
Oh, yeah. I don't know nothing about this.
Yeah. You don't know about Mr. Popo?
I ain't watched Dragon Ball. That's like my
God.
I don't know nothing about. I'm telling you, I'm really ignorant right now. I'm learning.
It really is one of the more notorious and disgusting depictions of what is clearly supposed to be some type of black person. And they over exaggerate almost every trope that you would have about the black man slave, man servant.
He's like,
you know what I mean? It's really kind of gross, and it stands out immediately. And I mean, in a world where you could have a dog be the police commissioner chief, they got a strange looking. It's bad.
I
It really is
see.
bad.
I see.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things too. Is like I don't want to sound like an apologist or make any concessions from them, but Japanese culture, we all know, is tremendously homogenous, and their interaction with the Western world is directly influenced by post World War II, American imperialism.
White
And
supremacy.
the depictions that they got of Black people are coming from the largest perpetrator against Black people in the world, and so I'm not surprised to see these things. But Dragon Ball Z came out in like what, the 80s is when Dragon Ball started, and it just like, man, seeing it in the 90s, I remember my father looked at it and he's like, what the, what are you watching?
That
He didn't turn like, what is this? And it called attention to me because I maybe was like 8 or 9 years old, and I didn't realize the full kind of implications of such. But I knew that was a weird looking thing that was going on there. So I don't know. I wonder from the people who are watching more modern animes of us, what do you think about kind of the progress that Japan has or hasn't made in regards to the depictions of Black people in anime? And I don't mean like a Nissan commercial with Naomi Osaka. I mean like people who are actually creating solid animes, who are perhaps, I don't know, younger creators. Is there any change there?
Yeah. Well, Kristen, what do you got? What's your person? Your Black anime.
And can I say, I mean specifically from Japanese creators, not
Here you go.
making anime. You know what I mean?
Now what? Now what? Oh, wait, like you mean Korean? Like Korean anime?
No, your anime person. What's your favorite anime, Black anime character?
Oh, I would say that's kind of difficult. Like, I would say Omoe from Naruto Shippuden. And like, it's okay because Naruto Shippuden, in my opinion, was garbage compared to the original Naruto. But please don't hate me for saying that. All right, please
Facts.
don't
Sorry,
at me.
I'm muted, so my brother can't come at you.
Okay, perfect.
Brother don't make an appearance. Her family and every podcast make an appearance.
I know. Just
brother.
give him a seat at the table. Come
They
on.
like, we gonna get our percentage.
But
Omoe,
no,
who is that?
if you Google Omoe, which Omoe means heavy in Japanese, right? Omoe means heavy. He's like he's a black character with like spiky blonde hair, but it's like paler than Naruto's. But you can tell he's black because not only is he dark, but he has like the wide nostrils and like he actually has lips, and not like cartoonish lips, not like pale or like red, but like you can definitely tell that he is a black character. And I think even his teammate is a black girl, but she has like red, like really spiky, like coarse kind of red hair and yellow eyes. But I will kind of.
Does he have a toothpick in his mouth?
That's a weapon, man.
He's so cool, though. I love him.
I got
I mean, I like the Raikage. I mean, the head dude. I'm like, yeah, he remind me of my uncle, man. He was like, B's big brother, man. I'm like, yeah, like when I first saw him, I'm like, okay, B, like, he can't rap. So that comes back to that argument that we were talking about earlier. B, like, if y'all listen to the Japanese, I'm like, yo, like whoever they got to like do the rhyming or whatever, it's like, dude, like cringe.
It's
not
not
good. In Naruto?
It's not good. It's like
Killer B is the rapper, man. He does everything in rhyme.
Killer B like Wu-Tang? Oh,
yeah. So that's the other thing too, because when he said he was Killer B, I'm like, wait a minute, man. Does he listen to Wu-Tang? Like Kishimoto, like is a Wu fan? I don't know. Like I had to like investigate that shit, but
he got caught.
Yeah. Wait, I gotta.
I like his big brother though, because Big Brother is like, he reminds me of a lot of the men in my family. Like he's like, yo, like you just gonna do the shit because I said so, because I am the strongest motherfucker. I'm the strongest dude, and I'm gonna beat your ass. Like
he got face tattoos and the sunglasses with the. Oh, I seen this. I gotta watch this. He rapped too. Oh,
yeah, he be rapping. Yeah. So I haven't heard the English dub, so I don't know like what the quality is in rapping in English. So. Yeah.
Oh, they got a
Yeah,
video.
Amoy looked like he could be like a child of mine, you know, like if they drew him, you know.
Meg over there smiling. What you gonna say, Meg? That's what do, Killer B.
Killer B. Okay.
I mean, he kicked Sasuke and his whole team's ass like by
Yeah,
himself.
I mean, yeah, I like him as a character, like his strength and all that. But like when he start rapping and stuff, it's like, man, just be quiet and just beat ass, man.
Rapping. Yo, so this is what I was watching. So I love Supreme. I watched all his videos, and so he has this black anime character video, and so there is something. There was this other dude that's a blurred. I can't remember his name, but so no one talks about Canary, and it makes me because I got Hunter x Hunter. I just got it for the school, and do y'all know about Canary? She's supposed to be hard. And the same thing, she was like kicking everybody. She see a one move and then she copy and she y'all. So I don't know. You said you know about that, Kristen?
Mm-hmm. She's the black girl with kind of like a school uniform, and she has like ponytails like all around her hair.
Yeah, but she got like curly hair. It's like you can see the puffs. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Yeah.
kinky textured hair.
Right.
Anybody watch JoJo?
Yeah.
Muhammad Abilan, something is Muhammad. His name is Muhammad, so I know he's black. So.
His name's Abdul Muhammad, and he's from
Abdul
Egypt.
Muhammad.
Which is funny because like JoJo was like a manga from the 80s, so like it's been like a really old series. And it's funny, before they actually made JoJo like a series, it was an OVA. And in the OVA, like Abdul had like the typical like black trope characteristics. Like he had like the really pale lips and the really dark skin tone. And I was kind of just like, I'm glad that they redid him because it was just not a good look like during that time. And it's really funny because actually I kind of wanted to delve more into this. Like, I'm sorry if it's going back to what Mega was talking about like how like they had all of these stereotypical looking characters from like shows like Slam Dunk and like even Jinx from Pokemon. But I actually did a little bit of research and like, how like minstrel shows were like a thing since like the 1800s. And I had actually found out that when Commodore Perry had like went into Japan, he actually introduced the art form of minstrel shows to Japanese people. So from there, I want to say that's kind of how the ideas of Black people kind of started. And I even heard and like researched that there were minstrel shows even being performed in Japan as well. Like
It still is.
yeah.
It still
So
is.
to me, it's almost
NHK.
right. It's sad, but like it's sad because it's not surprising if you consider the history. Like it almost makes sense as to why they have these like sort of caricatures like in their animations because it was already introduced to them by the time minstrel shows were becoming popular. It were being distributed internationally. So I'm really glad to see that they're kind of getting it right now. But to be honest, like, there's still a lot of work to be done. For sure.
Say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like it's kind of a hit or miss. It depends on the anime or the show. Because like I can think of something like the difference between the Black characters in Boku no Hero Academia versus like Promised Neverland with Sister Crone. And like Sister Crone, yeah, exactly. Sister Crone, like Promised Neverland as an anime is like very recent, but I think like the anime is the manga is also slightly recent within like this decade. And Sister Crone is like a complete caricature of Black woman. Big hips, crazy, aggressive, lunatic, pale lips, her hair is a mess. Even though like what she went through is actually pretty sad, and like as you learn about like the society that Promised Neverland is centered in, it makes sense how she went in that way because the other mother is also just as crazy, but just in a slightly more covert way.
I want to ask you about that.
Mm-hmm.
So because I read this, so this is one that I actually know about because I get the books in English for the kids, so I've been collecting a lot of manga. So like the Neverland joint is this one, and then My Hero Academia, and of course like Demon Slayer. But for her character, and I don't disagree with you, so I feel what you're saying. But when we are, can we ever be put in the villain way? Because if you're a villain, you know it. How can we play villains and it not come up that way? That's I guess what I'm saying.
Well, there's
Is there a
actually a
villain
good
like- Yeah.
No, actually, Paul, you raise a good point. So there are actually like some portrayals of that, like already in anime. Like if you watch Bleach, there's that dude with the braids, like who's Aizen's partner, and he's blind.
Tozen. I was talking about him. Yeah, Tozen. He's the one with the dreads, the purple hair, the purple glasses. Yeah, and the orange sweater. I mean,
Jordan LaForge.
His little scarf
So
thing,
he's an
whatever that goes
unproblematic
on.
villain.
he looks
Actually,
Nah, he's not problematic, man.
he's not really problematic.
no, he's not.
He's just strong, and he just
He got
doesn't
an S
talk.
curl though.
He doesn't talk.
He has a what?
He got an S curl.
Man,
He got that texturizer in there,
man,
man.
I thought it was dread.
Stop with the S curl, fam.
I think he changes his like his hairdo just like Aizen does, like after he like turns heel, you know.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking
Figure out
about.
he's a bad guy. He's like, oh shit, like look at me, like
He has
Stefan
micro-
Arcero, you know. He's like, oh,
White girl braid, you gotta say that. But yeah, so like I didn't feel like her character. I know what you're saying, and I'm like I said, I now I think about it, I get it. But I thought it fit some of it. I gotta go back and read it now. And it's probably problematic because the movie coming out, they're not even using the black person. They was like, no, we're not even gonna do that. They're using the Japanese person to play the character in the movie.
Because she got a lot of backlash, right? Like there was a lot of black when it first came out. People were talking about it, like and it was very popular last year. Like people were talking about and criticizing this caricature of Sister Crone. And I think that like going to your point, I see what you're saying, but why did she have to look like that to be the villain?
The
Like,
look, okay.
you know what I mean? Like, because her as a character is fine. It's just more of the caricature itself. It's kind of resembling what you all are talking about with these other.
She got that Aunt Jemima vibe, you know what I'm saying? She was
Right.
yeah. At first glance, she looked like the mammy from Looney Tunes all the way.
Yeah, but they all got that on, but when she got it on, it feels different. You be like,
yeah, it's definitely mammy vibe.
You talking about the slave mammy for Tom and Jerry?
Yeah, Tom and Jerry. Yeah, all
Yes.
the Looney
I
Tunes.
don't even let my daughter watch
they
Tom
got
and
the
Jerry no
mammy.
more.
Yeah, straight up.
I got that crow. I was like Crow reference, Jim Crow. I don't even want to hear no Crow.
Well, so the name Crone too, like that's also kind of like it kind of attacks like the idea of black womanhood too. I think. I mean, just off first glance, I haven't even watched Promised Neverland yet. I wanted to get into it, but I haven't had time. But just seeing like like her facial expressions, like in the thumbnails that I've seen, is like, yeah, that's problematic. And I put in the chat, it's like, yeah, like, like if the showrunner has actually been around like a diverse group of people, not just white folks, like I'm talking about Japanese people, then you can tell the difference, So for example, like with Samurai Champloo or like Michiko Tohachin, those people you could tell like they got an actual appreciation, or at least they won't. Their disdain for black people or just being somebody who wants to consume black culture is not going to be readily apparent. You can see that difference, I think, compared to like someone who's just putting black characters out there just because it kind of looks cool. And I could probably say I could accuse Bleach and Naruto of doing that to a certain degree, where it's like, yeah, like these black characters are here, but they're just filler. They're not really playing a pivotal role until like they're needed by the main character, and they're still subordinate, still subaltern.
All right, so I wanted to throw out some names to y'all. Y'all can tell me if y'all know these people, because like I said, I was watching these videos. I was trying to do my research. Oh, who is Rock Lock?
Yeah, that's his superhero name.
Yeah, I like his name.
I think he's like he's in the latest season. So Rock Lock, he's also kind of filler. He really doesn't really add much to the storyline. He's just like one of those like the pro heroes who help in a mission kind of thing. So maybe I haven't read the manga, so I don't know if he plays a more instrumental role, but he's like kind of like Tozen. Like he's there. If he wasn't there, would the storyline not go the way?
Is that cool though? I'm just asking. because there's some random black people. Sometimes I know this in Japan, black people don't feel like they always got to be out there. They just want to be. So do we have the regular black people that just?
I don't tip on it. Like,
I don't trip on it.
if you look at like the population density in actual Japan, it's like there's very few black people as it is, and even though you know what I mean, Deca looks white. I mean that fool was Japanese. Even though Goku was supposed to be an alien, that fool was Japanese, and so like the very few number of black people in these animes it's not really all that important to me as much as it is the depiction if they are involved in the show. Like
Exactly.
it don't.
Have y'all ever talked about or heard anybody talk about the idea of a Saiyajin being like a pure Japanese person or like that parallel? Because like
Who's that?
I'm talking about like the Saiyan.
Oh, Super Saiyan. Oh,
Yeah, like so like Gohan, he reaches Super Saiyan quicker, but he's actually only half Hafu, right?
oh, he is.
Yeah, because Chi-Chi is human. So, but
Oh,
he still gets the Saiyan powers, but he peaks quicker. And then technically, some people would say like, well, Gohan was supposed to be stronger than Goku, but then people, the fans said no, we want Goku to be the number one person. That's why Goku, even right now, like Super Dragon Ball, is like, yo, he's still young, he's still acting like he's like kind of an absent-minded child, but he's like the most powerful being in the universe. I don't know, like it was something that I always thought about. I'm like, yeah, like you got Trunks and Goten and all these other people, they're like half Japanese. I always just struck out to me.
To be honest with you, I always made the comparison to kind of white fetishization of the Saiyan race, because these motherfuckers got black hair, and then as soon as they power up, they get blonde hair and blue eyes. So I mean, I thought they become super Aryans. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of the parallel I always made to it, like that kind of Japanese fetishization of whiteness, and especially specifically the idea of like super whiteness, like pure Aryan blood type of shit.
Like those trumpers in Tokyo. Hey, no.
I mean, to be honest, there's already a parallel with like, how do you call it? Like Nazi-ish, like white supremacist type stuff in Attack on Titan. So literally, like, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I ain't messing with that.
You
All right,
never heard about that?
what about Philly the Kid? Cannon Busters. Oh,
I only watched like the first episode of Cannon Busters. I never got into it, but I've been wanting to get into it for the past couple of years, man, because I was hyped about LaShawn actually doing it, and then I was following him on social media. He actually moved to Tokyo, so I'm like, yeah, like that's the type of stuff we need to see, like on a constant basis, like to counterbalance any of the other bullshit that might come out, like like a Mr. Popo or like a Jinx or anything like that. Just a regular character. Like I think that's the other thing too. Like when we go back, we have these culture discussions about like, does culture come before industry or anything like that? I think liberation or freedom of like Black identity, I think, again, for anybody that hasn't listened, I feel like true liberation or freedom, it comes with the freedom to fail or just to be normal, just be regular ass. So like, yeah, like I want to see a Rock Lock in Boku no Hero. I would also like to see like if someone in Boku no Hero has a real quirk that can actually do some damage. I want to see that too. But yeah, we need a Rock Lock. We need a Takagi to just be there like for comic relief or just to be a regular ass dude. Same with like Cannon Busters. Like yeah, like not everybody got to be black, but we need to have representation. Like you can have a Afro Latinx person or a black person here, or like a maybe a Southeast Asian here, and they're just regular ass people. Like that's I think the ideal.
Do y'all consider Prekia anime?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Prekia.
Yeah. Princess Precure.
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
Princess Precure.
For the
Magic Girl. Come on, y'all should know.
Basically Sailor Moon, but for little kids.
It's
never watched.
It's like top 5. Like
yeah, it's for real over here. Like that Miracle Tune, all that stuff. So they had a black character last year, or one of those. They had a black character. She had blonde hair, but she was black.
Yeah.
My daughter was all about it. And it does pose like that whole representation thing, like where I was just like, I don't even want you to watch this. But she, you know, and then like to be able to get the dial and like if they have it at McDonald's or you can have a choice, you know, it just it was interesting. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I don't know about that. Oh, Atsuko Jackson. I want to throw that in there.
Oscar Jackson with the afro.
Yeah. No? You getting
Her
hyped?
last name like Jackson, of course. Hold on.
From Michiko and
And Michiko Tahachi, yeah.
Ah, the blonde girl.
yeah.
But see, you know, my problem is with characters like Atsuko. Like, why she gotta have blonde hair? Why she can't just be black? Like,
Same
like,
with you.
like, she gotta be some weird. Like, I'm not saying that having blonde hair is weird. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like,
I'm getting that J on you.
Jackson.
Michiko.
Like, she got an afro. Why don't she just have like a regular ass like afro? Like, I don't know. Like when I first saw the character, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Atsuko Jackson, because that reminds me. Okay, she been like her family or her daddy was like a military guy or something, but like her mama is like super duper strong. Her name gonna be Atsuko. I don't care if she's black or not. Like, she gonna be Atsuko. But Michiko Tahachi, and that's another thing. It's like, yeah, like the showrunners, you could tell they were drawing from, because you know, I feel like we as African Americans, you know, Black people in the United States, we tend to forget we are not the biggest demographic of Black people. I think the Brazilians, they got it on lock actually, because when I was studying like Candomblé and all that stuff, and like, you know, I still want to, like, on my bucket list is go to like Salvador, like Bahia, and I want to see all that, because they, you know, they Black, but it's just a different Black. Like they Black as hell.
I mean, so, like, as someone who just was a host family for a Black Brazilian, right? We just had her come. She goes to school in Curitiba, and we had Brazilians over just to visit her and stuff like that. And like, you go to Brazilian supermarket, like I would not. Y'all know me. That's the cheat code. Brazilian supermarket.
Brazilians, yeah.
There are hella Brazilians, and they all got blonde hair. A lot of them got blonde. Not all, but there's a lot of blonde. They love blonde hair. So then it makes sense when I just looked her up, is that she's not American. She's Brazilian.
Yeah, so
the fact that she got blonde hair is probably
at first glance I was like, damn, her name Jackson, so she ain't Brazilian. She like a Black lady.
Right.
You know, I was like, wait a minute. But then she Brazilian. It's like, yeah, okay. I get what y'all trying to do. Yeah.
All right. So, oh my goodness, nigga. All right, here we go. And then did somebody mention Soul Eater? What was that? Kaliki Rung or something like that? Kaliki Rung.
I like Soul Eater when it was out though.
There's supposed to be a Black character there. And then
who was the Black character in Soul Eater?
Kalik Rung? That's what I wrote down.
Is that in the manga or in the anime?
I will find it. I don't know. And then Black Lagoon, anybody seen that?
I've seen a little bit of it. I ain't
So
really
Bianca, that's an old one. So Bianca's like an old one.
Oh, this fool. Oh, his name Kalik. Oh, okay. I know this thing.
Yeah, you know him?
Yeah.
And Kalik is Black as hell. That's a Black.
Yeah, he's Black. Yeah.
Like that's damn Kalik.
I forgot all about him, man. Yeah.
It's so funny. One of my characters' names is Malik.
Of course, Kristen. Of course, Black as hell.
Andy has a do-rag, so
I got do-rag.
Yo, I was gonna happy MLK Day. I was gonna post MLK with the do-rag today, but I was like, too much. Maybe it's too much. I would do something more.
The character had it from the front or from the back.
Yo, I got it, and I got the one with the waves.
Right here.
Right. You ain't never. Oh, with the earpod, the apple, the bud. He got the waves.
Okay.
That's crap, though.
Is a do-rag a sign of being openly Black?
It's a do.
Well, that's how I knew Eminem was Black. He was wearing a do-rag, and I was like, "Oh shit, my bad."
He's culturally Black.
Right.
Eminem grew up in the hood, man. I've been where Eminem grew up. I know Royce, Proof, all them dudes.
It still don't mean he should rock a do-rag.
No. I'm not agreeing with
you. Should know that.
No, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying he was so we had a dude at my school, 99% Black. His name was White Mike.
White Mike.
White Mike. Everybody got a White Mike.
Everybody got a White Mike, yeah. I had a White Mike at my university.
With us. You got a White Mike. You got a little Chris.
He ran from the popo. He was on the corner. His mama was, he was with us from the beginning. He had nowhere else to go.
Yeah, he ain't got nowhere else to go.
You know what I'm saying? He was one of us. And you know but he never he never crossed the line because he would get punched in the mouth. But he knew better. I would say this about some people know better, and I think Eminem fame got to his head because there was a point where Eminem knew better because he got beat up a lot.
That might have been somebody who was setting his outfits up and shit for photo shoots. You know what I
He
mean?
was like, oh well,
It's gonna look great.
But when Eminem put out Infinite, like if you listen to Infinite from Eminem, you'll hear it. I mean,
he dropped the N-bomb a couple times, in Infinite.
Yeah, if you listen to Infinite. You know what's crazy is like one thing that I noticed about black characters depicted in anime is that the hair is actually becoming closer to like regular black hair standards.
Yeah.
Back at like black characters, like even Storm. I remember like looking back at Bishop from the X-Men. Bishop had that Yaki weave in. He was rocking that Yaki. Yeah, his shit was relaxed.
He had the Hawaiian silky.
Yeah.
Hey man, there was a time we did that. We did that.
And at first, like I had this realization a couple months ago because I thought he had like an S curler or like a Jerry curl. But when you look back at it, no, it's just regular white folks hair on a black dude.
Man, he had that conch, man. He had that conch, that Malcolm X before Malcolm X.
That pissed me off because I got like the comic book card, So like, in a couple of, I think like I forget, like Romita or whoever was, I forget the Quesada, like he does a little bit of curl in some of the panels, but then like on some of the stuff where they actually trying to like make it look jazzy or whatever, it's like, yo, man, he got Fabio hair, man. He looked like a dude off of the damn Danielle Steele like cover. He's like, oh, like I can be your Latin lover, but I'm just a black. Like, right. Why? Like,
and then conversely, if you look at white ass Norman Osborn, he got waves. I was like, I believe that Norman Osborn is a black character.
Black. He wasn't.
Green Goblin passing. No. Oh, I forgot. Yeah. No, real talk. When I first read
waves, he had
Amazing Spider-Man. No, Norman Osborn is a light-skinned dude to me. I don't care what nobody says. He's passing for white.
Look, my grandfather they look alike, bro. I'm telling you, he got the wavies.
Yeah, he got the waves. I was like, he
got something.
Yeah, he looked like WD Fard Muhammad.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
hey man,
Octoroon. Yeah, Octoroon Macaroon.
Don't be bringing up Fard.
Hey, we ain't talking about WD, y'all. No.
Hey,
I don't know
oh, so what y'all know about? We're gonna keep moving because y'all crazy. Bob Marky Hada?
Who?
Bob Tenjo Tengi. My man got dreads.
Tingo Tingy.
Tengio Tenge.
Man, you on that Cleveland accent, boy.
Y'all from Cleveland for sure. All right, anyway, Black Samurai. Let's talk about it because I seen that one. Black Samurai.
Is it an Afro Samurai?
Same.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about Afro Samurai, Yasuke.
I don't know. I just call him Black Samurai. So Afro Samurai.
I don't know Black Samurai.
Black Samurai. Jim Kelly.
Afro Samurai.
Right, Jim Kelly.
Afro Samurai. Yeah, let's talk about. Sorry.
Man, you come right out of a comic book.
I think he was voiced by Samuel Jackson, right? In the
perfect.
Yeah, you Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, that was a really good movie. I loved Afro Samurai.
It's a series too. They got like 5.
Yeah, series too. Yeah. I was the only thing because I wanted to show it to my kids, but it's like it's a little violent.
Yeah. It's a little R18.
It's just definitely not for the kids.
All right, so look how ghetto this is. This is racist, right? Okay, so I just looked up Afro Samurai, right? The first question they got right in Google is, what is Afro Samurai?
The second question is, why is Afro Samurai banned in China?
Oh, for real?
Yeah, that's the second question.
Let me see that.
I can answer it so easily.
Why?
They hate black people.
They banned. Check this out.
Y'all think I'm kidding, but I'm not.
I'm laughing because I already know, man.
I mean, like it took them forever to even air Black Panther. Like it took them like a month and a half for it to release in China, and like it didn't even get any coverage because like nobody like saw the significance in a first Marvel like main Black character movie. While it was hype everywhere else internationally, but like
Here's a
literally,
question for you. I'm sorry to interrupt. Here's a question for you, Kristen,
it's
or
okay.
anybody else. Do you all think the anti-blackness in China and other parts of Asia has the same roots as anti-black racism from Europe or from the United States?
Dog, that is such a big question.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I got,
That's a
leading
good,
to
that's a
something
good
else.
question, but
we can
I
talk
feel
about
like we're gonna have to spend 35 minutes on that joint.
Yeah,
I-
so that could be the next
Yeah,
conversation next time. But
That's a
to
big
I was about
answer
to
like
say.
really
Okay, so
quickly, like
put a
I think
pin
it
in that.
depends on the.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say it depends on the country, and its relationship, like how, like, because for example, Japan, anti-blackness was brought over, and then it like
Was it though? Was it though?
I feel like
Because
it
if you're
was.
talking about Yasuke predates Perry.
He did, but he was also able to.
he was an anomaly though.
Yeah, exactly. I was reading this. Not reading.
But
I
the
was
Dutch
listening
were
to a
there, and
podcast.
The Dutch were, flavors.
Racist. They were racist.
They were,
Mhm.
yeah. There's no doubt about it. The Dutch, I mean, hey, like Swart Piet, when we talk about Suriname, all that stuff, hey,
Hella racist.
it's still there. In Indonesia, it's still there, like right now.
But Bernie,
Right.
what you want to say?
Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot. No, I was just saying.
Maurice, you messed
With my
her up.
iPad, look at that
Yeah,
pineapple.
You done messed her
but
up, bro.
I did. You did. You did. It's all right. It's all right though. It's all right. No, yeah, I still think that like it depends on the country and how what either its relationship to Black people or Blackness and how like what they were conceptualizing their culture and what Blackness meant there, as well as like Black people, because I could see like for South Korea and in China and Japan there being like a variation versus like what was happening probably like South Asia. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
so I've been like, I don't know how many people been to China, but I've been to China a few times, and so I also think talking about class. How look at more? I knew it was coming out. Look at Mega. I knew it was coming. I said class. He was like, oh yes.
Come on now.
So talking about class and talking about China, or talking about Japan and talking about anti-darkness, anti-worker, and how that's associated is important, because what I saw was not only what you would consider anti-blackness, but also anti-worker, anti-class, and so lightness being associated with higher class because you're not in the sun, you're not working, and then that also being compounded on like not only are you less class wise, but then we're going to associate you with Africans or Black people, on top of that. So then you have like, we have to talk about that too, because it happens in Japan. I see it. I mean,
Yeah, it's the same thing, and I think that like that occurred during a bull or before like Black people like Yasuke, I think that was his name. That was the first Black samurai. I think Yasuke was his name. Like he was an anomaly. Like he was different because of like the situation surrounding him. But like in terms of like understanding Black people as a whole, what you're mentioning, Paul, was what was formulating in Japan in terms of class, and in that association with the importation of an understanding of Blackness kind of helped link together in ways that it probably didn't or didn't have to in other countries.
Because I see it now. Like somebody's actually said to me, a dark-skinned Japanese person, like, I'm like you, we're brothers, like trying to make, and I could tell that was not from just being the skin, that's a sense of experience. Like, like I've experienced it just because I'm dark. I'm a dark Japanese person. Or like this little girl that went to school with Maya, she was actually darker than Maya because her iron or something like that, there was a chemical reaction in her. So like her whole family is darker. And she was going through different things. And then on top of that, you have like Asian people coming to Japan is immigrants, but their culture is more leaning toward once you get to a certain age, you actually start lightening yourself. And my daughter has had to tell her friends like, "Yeah, nah, ain't gonna be nothing. Why you doing that? Why you associating yourself with light? With day train. Like so. I mean, but like you said, that could be. I don't put a pin in it. That's what Mo said. But let's talk about it. So we got 8 minutes. We wanted to put up some resources to kind of build from our Fat Phobia podcast. So do we want to just put those up in the Facebook group, or do we want to mention anything that we found post podcast?
I I didn't look much more into it outside of the links that you guys kind of shared today. There was one that Bernie shared that I found really interesting, and I guess I won't rehash it. I thought we were going to have a conversation about it. Is that not the plan though?
I thought we were. I was going to like mention it in terms of like a lot of the characters that we're mentioning are not necessarily like they're more skinny than fat or what we would consider fat or thick. But I didn't know how to bring it into the conversation because how we were talking about it was more about like depictions and representations, and one is lighter versus the other, and hair and stuff. But that was what was going through my head when I was thinking of the correlation of fat phobia in anime, of like a lot of the characters aren't fat or maybe I don't know if fat is the right word, but more on the other opposite spectrum of thin. And what does that mean?
They
You
ain't
said
got no meat
chocolate?
on them.
Oh yeah, meat. Yeah.
Yeah, do you think that's intentional? Because the dude from Slam Dunk, he like I said, they was connecting him to be strong, or is that?
But like that's muscle. That's muscle. Like there's a difference between like having muscle and having fat. So like that different. Like if you're talking about like a sports anime and they have muscle or sports anime, like it makes sense for them to be bigger, but it's like abs. You can see the abs, the pecs.
Is there like medium-sized anime characters aplenty, or is everybody skinny?
I mean,
It depends on the anime.
Choji, when he grows up in Naruto, he becomes he's just big bone. He's not like, they're not just making fun of him, or like Yajirobe from Dragon Ball. Like he always eating potato chips. Like they make fun of him, but he's like sensible though. He's like, yo, I ain't gonna be fighting like Cell. Like I'm gonna just chill over here with my potato chips. Y'all go ahead with that ball. But Choji, like, they make fun of him for being big, but he's an integral part of the group. Like you can't separate him from Shikamaru or so like I don't know. Like I feel some people, I don't know if you can draw or connect the through line of like fat phobia and anti-blackness here in Japan, because I see it in the shows now. Like they make fun of like the big girls. Like the big girls are like the comic relief here on Japanese TV.
Naomi Watanabe is it like her success is based upon like the idea that she's heavy.
Exactly.
She's the funny fat girl.
Funny thing. Oh, she's the funny fat girl.
But she got her claim to fame. Her claim to fame was what? Imitating Beyonce, right? Big girl trying to imitate a black woman, right? That's where she really broke through.
I mean, that's primarily what she was known for.
Dr. Umar.
Yeah, she's the Japanese Beyonce. It's like,
yeah, man. Because when you think about the anime, right? Like a lot of what we're talking about is those fighting anime. I mean, some of them it's just, but then there's that whole other like Your Name or like.
Yeah, I can't imagine a big girl being in a magical girl themed anime. So that's something that I would love to see. Like if we're talking about
like anime characters in those movies.
Yeah. So that's saying it's kind of related. If we're talking about Precure, like Precure, just a regular ass, like she's she's a size whatever, and like she ain't like super real thin, skinny, but that's about like who are the gatekeepers? Who defines what is beauty? Who defines what is moe, or who defines what is cute or kawaii?
I'm not disagreeing, because yes, there are some very rail thin characters that don't even fit Japanese expectations. Like it's not even like possible to see someone that thin in real life unless they have an eating disorder or something. But at the same time, like trying to compare like body sizes from an American perspective can be kind of tricky because like a lot of times they're built much smaller as well. Like my friend who's Japanese, like she's like 100 pounds and the same height as me, but her frame is just very small. So it's not like she's anorexic or really skinny. That's just how her body naturally is. And she actually gained weight when she came over here to study abroad. And the way her like fat was distributed, it like all went to her stomach, but it was barely noticeable. Like all she had to do was put on a t-shirt and like the fat just disappeared. Where as if like one of my friends had gained like 10 or 20 pounds, it was quite obvious. So you also have to look at that dynamic as well. Sometimes how it's distributed on their bodies is different how it's distributed on our bodies, and it's not as noticeable. But even so, even with that being said, there's definitely like a fat phobia in the culture for sure. And, you know, it's the same, like the fat girl is the funny one or the fat guy is the funny one trope that we've always seen. So I was just pointing that out as
I just
something
I wonder because you have, so in Japan, because of the census, you don't actually, there's a myth of homogeneity, right? You don't actually know about the kids who are mixed. You don't know necessarily all the immigrant. Like some people could just put Japanese on their thing, like especially when they bring the census.
They're hiding in plain sight. Yeah.
You know, like I seen it. Like it ain't a lot of categories. Like, you know, either you the foreign family or you the Japanese family. Or so I wonder if, like, when I think about Maya school, at least one kid in every class is not Japanese or mixed. You know, they're mixed with Japanese, and I wonder if anime is going to. We talk about gatekeepers and stuff. Is anime going to evolve?
But that's why we need creators like Kristen to
and my dude,
get in there.
Yeah, what's the dude name? Arthel.
Oh, the dude.
Arthel. Yes, sorry, Arthel. Don't kill him. No.
Yeah, I mean,
Arthel, don't hear. Arthel, come to the podcast.
we should reach out to him.
But yeah, I know Mega. What we were saying about the article. Sorry, we like kind of detoured, but
no, I just pulled it back up, and it was shoot, I took it down again, but no, really, it was just discussing how I guess coming into the conversation, you know, I haven't, like I said last time, I haven't really read much on fat phobia, and I haven't developed much of an opinion on it outside of kind of a surface level inspection and being very aware of how bigger people are depicted through, you know, media and treated even, you know, socially within the social dynamic. But the article that I'm talking about is on Blavity. Is that how you pronounce it? Blavity. And it's called Why the Concept of Fat Phobia is Culturally Tone Deaf to Me. And I found this to be one of the more interesting reads about fat phobia in the way that the term fat has kind of been something that I guess you know, I kind of feel ignorant to try to summarize this whole article right now after I've only read it once, but they're getting to the point where you know, how Black people have always kind of disregarded the ideas of fatness that were imposed by traditional white body type standards, and how we've always had terms like big boned or, you know, thick to describe these things, because we understand that we won't fit neatly into the categories of you know, acceptable body types. It's just not the way that a lot of us are built. And so she was a little bit, I think the person who wrote this was a little bit concerned about this blanket term and how it's being applied to the Black experience. So yeah, go ahead. I got two hands. It looked like both of y'all about to
I'm just my head. I wanted to do it because it looked. I'm being creative. Sorry, I saw it.
oh,
I mean, it talks about like Lizzo and a variety of things. I just thought it was really good. I'm still not exactly sure how to approach fat phobia in terms of like any like political aspiration to it to make these changes or what needs to be done. Because to be honest with you, I don't think that my kind of the things that I do and in the way that I view bigger people are are conducive to the oppression of them, so to speak. I'm not exactly sure what needs to be done, or what exactly the how it should be addressed by Black people or by myself.
Go Bernie, go.
So I read the article and I understand her argument, because I was thinking of like, okay, so in our private chat, I put like Sister Cone is kind of thick, right? And we have like terminologies like thick or big boned, all these different things, but there is still an image that comes to mind, that, or there is still an image that is attributed to things like thick, that like what fat phobia or fatness or obesity does not align with. So like, for me, for example, I could be thick, but thick is mostly like you have a bigger chest or a bigger waist or a bigger butt, but your stomach is either like flat or like kind of like you got like a nice curve, because thick is mostly in reference to like your butt big, right? But I could be thick, but not necessarily be labeled as fat. And I can still be attractive. And that's the thing, is like in Black communities that I've been in, like being thick is better, because it's like, oh, I want meat on my bone. Like guys are attracted to that kind of like aesthetic. But if you go to somebody like Lizzo size or Tokyo Vanity, wherever her name is, like something along those lines, you're not considered attractive. That's not what she's talking about. I understand, but that's not as a cultural community or whatever. That's like people of the size of Lizzo and Tokyo Vanity, like that's not the typical fat attractiveness, if that makes sense. And so like I understand where she's coming from in terms of like, as Black people, because we barely are able to fit in these Eurocentric molds of standards or beauty standards, we end up loving ourselves or creating our own within the community. But even in that, it's not completely opposite of the Eurocentric views or the Eurocentric views of beauty. Like there's still a certain standard that we've created, and that everybody outside of that or pushing that is still considered unattractive, if that makes sense.
Right. I mean, I see it like if I recently did a rewatch of Moesha, and the one character who went on to do the Parkers with Monique, like the personality of that character is like the fat funny chick who doesn't get the dude, who is kind of trying to punch outside of her weight class to get the more handsome dude because she's fat. And it's just like the jokes are on her, and this is a show that's produced by Black people, starring all Black people. So we're definitely, a part of the problem too, and it definitely transcends the idea of race and the view that Black people might have different from the Eurocentric views of body types. So,
well, I think you go to Tyler Perry, and you go to Eddie Murphy, you go to. I mean, you could make an argument about Moms Mabley. You can go back. I mean, there is that character when we talk about what's her name? Watanabe. There is that character of being that fat, funny Black. And I mean, I wouldn't say that's just Black people. I think white people do it too. And I think of Fat Amy from Pitch Perfect in particular. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I find it problematic in Japan just because my daughter is not what someone would consider to be fat, but to them she's fat, and she is actually just a bigger kid, because I'm a bigger part of my grandma. We got shoulders, we got all that, and if you look at her, she's slim, but she got a butt, she got hips, and she looks double size, and not because of her weight, just because she's just bigger. But she will get that she's fat, or why are you so big, and like even like I said before, I had to tell. I use tall now because she's like 150 centimeters. So she almost as tall as her mama. And she's 10 years old and almost the same size. But not because but that has come over or that was here. And then also that's kind of being fed during the media. So I think that's also where, not like those Lizzo character, like not I won't call it character, but Lizzo types, but also the ones kind of in the range too. They're dealing with that kind of every day just because they're just naturally bigger, big bone. That's what you said, right? Big bone.
one of the things that I'm having a more difficult time kind of settling into in regards to the idea of fat phobia is how accepting or like how accepting I should be to just not think of very large body types as being a problem for somebody's health. I you know, like in our community, I see, you know, the diets that we have and the things cause big problems for our community. So I don't know, like when I tell my dad who's getting heavier, like, yo, like, you know, get your health in check because my father died from heart problems because of salt and sugar. And I think I'm having a hard time finding that line of what is celebrating black heavier body types and what is like a problem for me to think that it's a problem when people get too heavy. That's kind of like I'm not sure exactly where I fit into the idea of fat phobia, and if how me being critical of our diets and getting to certain sizes, how problematic that is to the idea of, or if that is fat phobic. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think I mentioned before, like I grapple with this all the time because again, I'm from the South. I work in the fitness industry. You know, I've been in the entertainment industry. So it's like, for me, I love eating, you know, I love eating, but I also love eating like very unhealthy foods. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that some people are not going to have the same activity level as me. So therefore, they might have the foods that they eat that are same as me, like fried chicken, any fried foods, is going to have an effect. So like, how do you balance that? Because I don't want to say that I'm fat phobic just because I say, hey, you shouldn't pig out on 5 bowls of ramen and like karage and gyoza and then think that that's healthy. It's not, you know, in any circumstance, you know, unless you're a competitive eater and then you purge yourself later on or something like that. I don't know. But like, yeah, it's a fine line because I think really when people are talking about fat phobia is when we're trying to define beauty standards, when we're trying to define personhood, even, you know, when we're talking about intersections of disability and mobility, and then also femininity, you know, because again, like going back to Crohn, Sister Crohn, it's like, okay, she, you know, she's thick, right? But that adds to the background of her character being someone who's antagonistic or someone who's being, you know, self-serving or someone who's being, you know, a crone, like the big B word, you know, like she got to be big, you know, and scary, you know, and it fits into that trope of the angry Black woman. So yeah, like I think for me, how I compartmentalize, like saying, okay, healthy eating. So for example, like if we're talking about taking it back to the continent and doing like our ancestors did, like we've been eating vegan, we've been eating healthy. Is only when we got, you know, to the States and in other places, and with modernization, you have these empty calories, you have these things that have adverse effects on our health, especially, you know, like I said, we joke about it all the time amongst my friends, like, oh, you know, I don't want to die the Black man's disease, right? Like hypertension, you know, heart disease, cancer, these things that, you know, run counter to us being, you know, so-called the pillars of our community or being macho stoic figures for people, you know, like I can eat a steak and potatoes and drink some beer and be okay, you know, because I'm 6 foot whatever and I'm over 200 pounds, I'm strong, you know. But no, it's like you're killing yourself because you're trying to fit into this trope of like a hardworking so-called masculine person that eats heavy all the time. It's like, no, it's okay to eat a salad sometimes. It's okay to like not have to eat only meat and starch, you know, because we've been doing like I love greens, like I love collard greens. Like one of the things I had to do, like when I was just trying to, you know, get back into shape, was like cut out like a lot of the like salt and like pork and beef, you know. So I'm like, how do I make my greens? Like, oh, I can use turkey necks, or I could just not use meat products at all. I can go vegetarian for a little bit, you know, and that made me feel much better. So that's what I'm grappling with right now. I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm not trying to be fat phobic. There's a certain standard that I want to hold myself to in terms of being mobile, because I, you know, again, I recognize my privilege as someone who is able-bodied, because I many of my family members lost their mobility because of diabetes or stroke or hypertension. It's not a joke to me. So that's why, again, like exercise and fitness, that's death avoidance for a lot of people, So for me, it's something that will come, but I wanted to delay it, as much as possible. And if I can do that by eating a balanced diet, eating sensibly, then yeah, I don't feel that that's fat phobic at all. That's just being.
I mean, I think, like it's the comments, right? So, and I'm just going back to mine because this is what in my head right now. Like when people try to tap your stomach or grab your hip, so those overt things, like exactly what Maurice saying, because I'm dealing with this right now as far as like my weight and the doctor never, he said you need to lose some kilos, but like, someone will say, oh, well, you're 5 this, you need to be 80 kilos. And I'm like, well, I'm never going to be that. So let's stop at 95.
The doctor told me that. I'm like, I just got through fighting. Like I got in shape for a fight. And like, you tell me I need to lose weight. Shut up. Like what are you talking about?
No salt, no sugar, like less salt, less sugar, exercise. And I think saying those things versus like, oh, look at your stomach. Like people will really come up to me. I don't even know you tapping on my, okay. Not like, man, if you don't back up.
You ain't slapped nobody yet.
They'd like grab your arm or something, try to see, oh, he's poony, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like, yo. And I think that's where you get into that. Because then obviously
it goes into this thing of personhood.
Yeah, there's something about that makes them have a fear. Like they're afraid to be that in a way, and they're outwardly poking at you, So that's how I look at it. And I try not to do it because I was raised, we made fat jokes, we made fun of people, like, so unlearning that behavior, especially because I experience it on a regular basis, just being a big guy in Japan. And like even going into a store and they were like, oh, no big size, like I was like, what? Like I was like, you don't even know what size belt out. They're like, no, like bro, I'm 36. I can get it over. They're like, no big size. I've had that happen to me. So
I know Bernie. It seems to me that Bernie is one that's kind of read more about this and interacts with people who are studying this. How far off the mark are we on this, Bernie? What are your thoughts about our comments? Like,
no, I mean, because like I had because one of my closest friends, she is on the bigger side in terms of like the spectrum. So she gets a lot of this throughout her entire life, and so because of how it has affected her in terms of beauty standards, in terms of health, and not in terms of like, oh, like she's unhealthy, but people commenting on her and saying that you are unhealthy because you're big. She made it a mission for her to learn about fat phobia, and because I'm close friends with her and having a mom who's always concerned and saying, you don't want to get any bigger than you are right now. Look at all your aunts and uncles, they're so big and they, they're about to die, and I don't want you to be like that. Like those kind of comments can get at, as Maurice was saying, like the personhood and understanding that. And it's like, on the one hand, is like, in terms of like medical stuff, like it's about, I'm concerned for you. I want to make sure that you are healthy, da 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 da. But on the other hand, it's like, does fatness always have to equate to health or being unhealthy? And so that's why I put it in the chat, like that question, and that's what my friend is tackling with. But in terms of what I've heard and talked to her about, you're not necessarily off the mark, but I think that the comments that y'all made about health is something that is still, it's in part rooted in fat phobia. Part of it is still rooted in it, even if you don't necessarily like think it is, because it's about health and we don't want you to get sick or die or whatever, but it's still like this matter of like dichotomy of fat is unhealthy, skinny is, or not necessarily skinny, because we can also recognize that skinny can also be unhealthy, but skinnier is healthier. And that may not always be the case. And so again, I don't have that much details. I don't want to come in and say like, I have a lot of information, because I recognize that she knows a lot more, so I've talked to her about it, but I haven't talked to her to a degree that I can come and like tell you more, and I don't want to say educate you more, but like tell you more, give you more resources. So I'm like going through the resources that she has given me, and I'm just like picking out which ones could be more useful for this conversation, but I have to do my own research. I'm holding myself accountable to that. So that's why I haven't really spoke on some of the things that you have said, because I feel like I don't have enough background information to like counteract what you all are saying. But there is something that y'all are saying that I don't say is not true, but I think highlights for her what is problematic about the equation of fatness being unhealthy. And but also at the same time, we all have to recognize that certain things that we do is going to lead to an unhealthy lifestyle. And so that's why I like the comparison of like Lizzo, because like I think I sent a tweet, a Twitter chat or whatever, of like Julian, who's like a fitness trainer, and they were making comments about Lizzo being fat, and they're like, why do we have to accept this? This is not acceptable. Kind of along the lines of what Maurice was saying. It's like, this is not healthy. But like Lizzo trains every single day. She's always on stage. She's playing the flute. She's doing all these different things. She's eating semi-healthily. Like she's doing things that probably you and I, or even Kristen, cannot probably do for like long periods of time. But because she's fat, she's automatically seen as unhealthy. So like that is rooted in fat phobia. So like I'm gonna stop there. Like I hope I'm making sense, but I just want to say like I don't have that much to like make the conversation more fruitful and informative.
Yeah, if y'all read that, I just read the Lizzo thing. Just her performing for 2 hours, hour and a half, and like it makes me think about Queen Latifah, because people would mention like, oh man, she would be, better if she was cuter. I was like, Queen Latifah is fine. I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Like,
yeah, I've always had a thing for Khadijah.
But that's who she is, and I mean, like,
a lot of hearts when she let people know she didn't like them.
For sure. But she, and she's a singer and performer, and that's just her body type.
Right.
And so thinking about body types, versus health, right? And Bernie, like thinking about that's your body type. You can still be healthy with that body type. What is he doing?
Yeah. I think I like to think that I'm pretty mindful of the idea that fatness doesn't necessarily equate unhealthy any more than like skinniness equates healthy. And I think I'm fairly mindful of the fact that I don't actively judge people for their body types or judge their health. But I guess I kind of look at it like smoking cigarettes. Like I know people, my dad was in his 70s smoking cigarettes, and it's not the healthiest thing to do. It's his choice, and it affects his body. And for some people, being heavy is more more of a death sentence, just like cigarettes. And sometimes it's not. So like, do what you do, and it's not much of my business unless you're somehow affecting me with it. So I mean,
you don't want to care about nobody. There's a lot of apathy in that statement, sir.
No, I mean, like, what my biggest concern about the whole fat phobia thing is because I'm worried that the idea of an embracing of being big and without, the body positive idea of just getting super big is detrimental to the Black community, and that's kind of where I come down on it.
Well, I was
looking at the spectrum of fatness and the terms that are acceptable to use, and like I was just like kind of surprised with it. Like I hope that I don't know. Be big if you want to be big, but it's just interesting to me. I don't know where I land on it.
Well, I think what you're touching on is the fact that if we have people within and without the community that says, here's a standard of health, or here's things that are scientifically proven and backed up by research to be, a widely held belief. For example, if you eat a diet full of sodium and full of trans fats, you're going to have adverse health reactions. Compared to disinformation, which says we don't account for different body types. So, for example, like the Richardsons might have had the same mesomorph or whatever outdated terminology you want to call their body type for the past 17 generations. But they've all had different health outcomes. It doesn't matter about their diet and all that stuff. It's just how they are. Like some people that live in Rotterdam, they're all over 190 centimeters tall. Different body shapes, but they're all tall people. You can I think you can separate people that are trying to make apologies for lack of comprehensive policy when it comes to, for example, food deserts, when it comes to lack of regard for people in the medical field. Like, for example, I'm sure y'all heard about like how Black women, especially Black women, Black and indigenous women are treated when they are pregnant or when they have any type of OBGYN issue. When they just say, "Oh, you just need to lose some weight, big girl," but it's actually like, "Oh, you got endometriosis," or "Oh, you actually got some fibroids," or some other shit that was a result of like a company pumping like some bullshit in your community or something like that, or people putting stuff in your food that you thought was something that was wholesome and healthy, but it wasn't, because there's an apathy and there's a lack of regard for your personhood. And we can separate that. That's a bigger discussion, I think. Because we're kind of touching on the fact that, yeah, like again, like in my family too, there's plenty of people that are big, but guess what? I ain't going up against them in the fight. I ain't gonna run against them. I ain't gonna get in the pool and try to swim against them, because guess what? They gonna blow me out the water. Like that's just a known quantity. It don't matter how big their belly is or how much fat they got on their arms. Like, no, they still boss. They still can whoop your ass, and they still can do things that people that are so-called conventionally skinny or attractive cannot do, because that Lizzo thing popped on my timeline back, like a couple weeks ago. It's like, yeah, like people like, that fat phobia can cloud your brain. It's like, dude, did you not see what she just did and is doing? Like, you can't do that shit. So what are you talking about? Like, and you can say the same for many other people. Like, okay, take it back to hip hop. Like Heavy D and the Boys. Like Heavy D, like he was a good dancer. But his name is Heavy D. He's a big dude, and he was moving around like he wasn't supposed to. It's like, no, but I know plenty of people that are over 200 pounds or whatever weight class you want to call it, and they are agile as shit. Like they can bust some moves, like, and it has
standards though, man. There's some standards. Like we just basically not saying that the standards is racist, right? So
that's the other thing too.
Like, so and this is, this goes to all my conversations and the thing that, we should have standards, but are those standards current? And
are they not enough?
You know what I mean? Like, so when we talk about these things, these standards, especially when I go to the doctor, they associate unhealthiness with a picture.
Yeah.
A lot of times. Not necessarily. They say these things, but then there's a picture, and that dude is large, looking like me.
And all that stuff. Yeah.
Look like that picture. You should not look like that picture. And then I feel like, well, I'm still healthy. I can still touch a basketball. I can get up. I have. So, yeah, I do think that what Mega is saying is, I agree with, like, if they doing their thing, they doing it, and there's both. And what Maurice is saying, but we gotta, those standards is racist, man. Like, even what Kristen said about the bone mass. Like, I started thinking about this when because I weigh myself every day. I'm like,
Well, I mean, I think like anything, it requires a lot of nuance to discuss and how it interacts with other aspects of the way society is structured. Like Bernadette put in the chat, fat and class are also intertwined. And that's kind of what I'm getting at too. Like the food industry and the way that capitalism has shaped the food industry is detrimental to a lot of people, and a lot of poor people tend to be the people who have the the eating habits that are going to reflect on their bodies more adversely in a lot of cases, regardless of genetics, and also something that crosses race lines as well. It's like, fat, white, black, whatever type of people are affected.
Right.
So,
well, yeah, I mean,
a lot of nuance.
We were supposed to go 60 minutes, but as usual, we didn't. So yeah, any last comments? Let's wrap up the live and then continue.
As always, I enjoy rocking with y'all. Piccolo will always be black to me.
That's right.
One thing I was thinking is like, Maurice has been talking about doing smaller segments. I know a lot of times we meet on Tuesdays, have discussions. We might as well record those too if we're going to do that, because a lot of times I feel like we're missing a lot of current events that we would love to talk about.
Yeah, I wish we were recorded at the beginning too. That was a good one.
Yeah.
But
So other than that, man, I love y'all. It's
Bernie, what you got? All right, so
Thank
this
you.
is it. This is the end. Number 6. Man, we got number 6. We're doing it good. Yes.
Woo.
Good job, everybody.
Yay.